This is Henry Sanders back for another session of Real Talk, and I'm here with my good friend, Miss Lena Taylor from Milwaukee. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to be with you.
Yes.
So good to see the new stuff you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
You are a state senator. Do you like that job?
I love the job. I love representing. I love serving. I love taking my skills to the table. Mm-hmm. It's ironic that we're at a table, right? Taking my skills to the table, and a brown table at that. I like that in you. But
I never think about that.
Yeah. You know, because Jada has a red table.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, okay.
So,
Jada.
you know.
I like to put me and Jada in the same sentence. I like that. Okay.
Hey,
I'm with that. What up,
You're
Jada?
doing it. And so, anyway, I love the job because I get to serve. When I came, I was the 1,000th senator, only the 20th woman. Only the 5th African American in the history of the state to be a state senator, and only the 2nd Black woman. And I'm clearly was different in many ways than many of the individuals who had represented before. And it's been amazing. I've been able to chair the Finance Committee, which I was the first African American woman to do.
Were you
that.
really?
Yes. I was able to chair the Judiciary Committee. I was able to lead some correction reform in a state that leads in mass incarceration. It's amazing to be able to be a state senator, but I'm just a girl from 15th and Capitol.
Oh, here we go.
But for real, I'm not like J-Lo. What are you talking about? I'm not from the block. I live on the block I grew up on.
Okay, that's
seriously,
true. You represent the people.
I do.
So, being a state senator, and you really represent Black folks in so many ways. It's funny, though, when I hear people take shots at you. Mm-hmm. It's stereotypical stuff that they would say about Black folks are women, right? You're strong, she's voices her opinion, all those things.
Too aggressive.
How do you deal?
Too common. I've heard I'm too common. I'm like, what is that?
What does that mean? I don't know.
I'm too close to the people. What does that mean?
So you can't win. So I'm like, how does a Black woman succeed today? And I'm just all for the young ladies who are watching this right now, who they've heard these things. How do you tell them, how do they succeed and do all the stuff that you've done, knowing that all the hating that they hear? How do you deal with that?
I'm a woman of faith, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I can't think of the exact scripture, but in the Bible it really talks about like whose word are you going to hear? Mm-hmm. Whose word are you going to believe? And so where you choose to and what you choose to come into you is one thing. Mm-hmm. But what you choose or what flies over your head is one thing. But what you allow to rest on top of your head or rest in your mind is up to you. And so the first thing I say is be authentically the only thing that you can be. You. That's it. And have, for me, a relationship with a higher being for me, but more importantly, for, a group of people that, will tell you the truth, right? And just be authentically you and do what is right. And what I have found in my life in doing that is that even when the odds are completely against the girl from 15th and Capitol by way of 29th and North Avenue, whether it was not even being conceived, it took my parents a year to conceive me, or making it from being premature and not being able to take any of the milk, and my doctor realizing it should be goat's milk, and that I could take goat's milk, and that's how I lived. Or whether it was I shouldn't have made it out of high school because I was managing everything but my homework, and I had a 1.8 GPA, and I sit in front of you as a lawyer. Now that was morally because I had a mother who, believed spirit of ride, spoiled a child, and picked my school, major, counselor classes, dorm room, furniture, the driver, the seat I was sitting in. Look, the time we was coming. I know it's your mama.
You know my mama.
I know your mama. Yeah. She my soror.
I know your mama.
Yeah. You just do what you were supposed to do. So I would encourage, anyone who, is listening, to believe in themselves, to have a dream, because if you don't, you will just fall for everything, right? Have a dream, have some vision, and be authentically you, right? And it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you that. Mm-hmm. You better hold on to some faith and some. Donnie McClurkin has that song, where they talk about we fall down, but we get up. Yeah, you got to have something that will, and people that will come to you if you're in your lowest point and tell you that you're there in case you're not in your right mind, right? And also help you up and navigate your way.
So you have to be humble. I hear you saying
you do.
Humble.
You have to be humble.
But self-confident, self-driven,
yes.
and fall back to something that's bigger than you.
Yes, yes.
So talk about something that's transitioned from this dream you've had. Now you are doing something. You're running for mayor of Milwaukee,
first class city of the state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
The city that is the majority. Don't hate us. She ate Madison. I got love in Madison. I'm not taking.
We got a lot of love in Milwaukee. Sorry, we got a lot of love in Milwaukee.
Yes,
so we love you, Milwaukee.
Yes.
However,
and we've loved you.
That's true.
We've loved you, and we've loved on you.
Always showed me love.
And what I will say is, I'm very proud to be running. To be mayor of a city that I grew up in, a city that made me. I am Milwaukee, is what I like to say, because I'm, born and raised, live on the block that I grew up on. I feel like, all pun intended, I was tailor-made by Milwaukee for Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, you've been working on that for a while.
You know what? It just flow.
I like that, though.
But on the serious end, I mean that. I went to public schools.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Rufus King.
Oh, okay.
King General's in the house.
All right. Okay.
Yes. And I went to E.L. Phillip, right down the street from my house. I went to UW Milwaukee, which is one of our research institutions in the state, of Wisconsin. And I also, came back and started my law practice here. After leaving, I went to Illinois.
I didn't know that.
I went to Carbondale.
Oh, okay.
I went to Carbondale, Illinois for law school. And I thought I was never coming back because of all of the things that make me run for mayor today.
So, okay. I have to ask this question.
Please.
I love y'all folks in Milwaukee. I love y'all. I love you. I love y'all.
This means something special is going to come from this conversation.
So we have about 40% black folk in
Milwaukee.
Sir.
Yes, sir. About 70% people of color.
In total, right?
Yes. Hmong, Hispanic, yes. Just gonna say it.
So the question is,
what took us so long?
What is taking y'all so long to? Is it self belief? Is it that you feel like you can't do it? Is it a lack of unity? What is it that's stopping you in today's age to dealing with and having a person of color be elected to be mayor of the city of Milwaukee with all the challenges that are going on in Milwaukee that pertain to people of color that are nationally recognized?
So I think all of those things that you said, divide and conquer, I think all of those kinds of things. But I think the real issue is you can't win if nobody runs. And so that's the first thing. I mean, we don't have judges on the bench because lawyers have to decide they're going to run for judge. And when a bunch of judges run and they're never opposed, or they're not opposed, what does that say? Nothing can change if no one ever runs. So one of the reasons I'm running is because not my news she wrote, but her quote, is really so much of what made me do it. Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay. And I bring skills and talents to the table to be able to run the first class city of the state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my hometown. I love the place. I love the people. I am them, and I know that we can do better. We don't have to lead in everything, and most importantly, we lead in failing in our future. And what does that mean? We lead in being the worst place in the nation to raise a black child. That's our future. Right there.
Most incarcerated zip code. I mean, you go
pipeline to prison, doing it from, I had mothers, grandmothers calling me about how the state, that plays a role, but I believe there's a role that a city can play in making services collaborative. But the pipeline of children going into the foster care system, into the juvenile justice system, we had a mayor that didn't even want the children to come back into the city of Milwaukee. In addition to that, we have a mayor who knew that there were lead lateral problems and was doing nothing to be able to address those. In addition to that, we have a high increase of concentration of lead numbers in our children who have high lead numbers, and our lead numbers are more than double that of Flint, Michigan.
Really?
You know, yes. And this is, you know, and it was brought up with PolitiFact, like suggesting that I'm saying that water is the main way. I never said that. I'm really good at speaking for myself and saying what I mean and meaning what I say.
Right.
And you chuckle like everybody else who knows me whoops and chuckle because they're like, yeah, I know that to be true.
You always say what you mean.
And so what I'm saying is blood numbers that are more than double that of Flint should have us all saying what is going on. The house is on fire. And so me running is saying the house is on fire.
You know, it's interesting. I Googled just before you got here. I Googled living in Milwaukee, Black Milwaukee,
mass incarceration,
and
home ownership.
All these things came up. And
unemployment, black male unemployment.
I mean, like listed, everything you just said listed. And I was like to myself, as a black man who cares about this state, as you know, and if I'm trying to recruit people here, Milwaukee is so important to the state of Wisconsin. Where Milwaukee goes, the rest of the state goes, right? So you have this data, you have all the stuff that you see coming up about Milwaukee, and then you want to be mayor of that city?
I do, because it doesn't have to be that way. And that's the part that I find frustrating. When we lead in the nation in nonprofits, but we have those outcomes, somewhere is some poverty pimping going on. Mm-hmm. And somebody has to call foul and say, that's not going to happen. Somebody has to coordinate and orchestrate how we need to begin to allow our services to work together and to collaborate. Somebody has to be the one to go to neighborhood communities and say, we need help working on this issue. Can you help us? And this is what we can help you with. You know, we have a financial problem because the state does not give us what's due us. But, you know, whether I don't agree with my Republican colleagues on a lot of stuff, and they're in control, and this way is a part of the Walker regime and the GOP regime of how they foresee and view Milwaukee and the people who lead it. Okay? Now, I've done more than 110, 120 pieces of legislation in my career. Bipartisan pieces of legislation that I've done. Republicans or Democrats in control. I enjoy to tell the story that when we were gone and I was in Illinois, I had a bill in committee and a bill that passed. You know, so in some of our most divided times, right, we've been able to do stuff. If you have a leader in Milwaukee where people do not trust your money management, your ability to do deals and manage, that's going to be a problem. And that's kind of where we are in the city of Milwaukee. And when you have residents that don't. So for example, you know, I come from a business background. My mother and grandmother owned a restaurant. My father owned an insurance company, you know, and I didn't know that there were child labor laws when I grew up. You know, I didn't know it. That's why I became a lawyer. No, I'm just kidding. I did become a lawyer because I wanted to help people. And I didn't know that there were child labor laws, but it helped to craft who I am, right? My work ethic, it helped to craft just how I automatically, you know, work to make $1 out of, you know, 1.5 cents because I ain't even got 15, you know?
Come on now. You weren't that poor. Were you that poor?
No, I wasn't that poor. I was very privileged as a young child. My parents divorced at 9, when I was 9. And in divorce, I saw poverty be different, right? I saw poverty more, but I also saw poverty because my mother's sister had like 7 children. And she left her husband who had physically abused her. And so I saw how divorce completely changed the lives of a woman and her children overnight. right? Now, our situation wasn't quite the same because we owned our home, and my mother just was a hustler by nature. You know, she made an apartment in her basement. We lived there, and she rented out the duplex, you know, and her mother had a restaurant. And so we had an apartment over the restaurant because we were really there most of the time. So I didn't hurt for, you know what I'm saying, for anything, but, you know, we didn't take a bunch of family vacations, and I didn't get to spend a year away, you know, out of the country, and, you know, I didn't have those experiences. But what I will tell you is that through the experiences I did have, because my grandmother took in veterans, because my mother runs a ministry where she takes in people who are homeless, what I've been able to see always is right next to dirt to the ground, because our hand is always there helping those, you know what I'm saying, those people.
So let me ask you a question. So it's like, so for people who are not familiar with Milwaukee, Tom Barrett is basically Madison's
He's presently the mayor.
Right.
He was a senator, state senator.
He ran for governor a couple
and he
times.
was a congressperson, ran for governor.
He's a career politician.
More than two times.
Right. So,
career politician,
yes. So he is our version of Paul Soglin, right? So he's like, Paul Soglin was a mayor for many years. And Paul, you know, didn't run. He did. I guess he did. So Paul Soglin's been there for a long time. And the question,
he just ran again, didn't he?
Yes, and he lost.
And he ran after he said he wasn't going to run, right?
Yes.
Sounds like the story is the same.
And that's what I'm getting to. So they have similar paths. And the question I would want to know how you would answer this for Tom is, he been there for 16 years. So all the stuff that's happened has been in his watch, right?
Correct.
For 16 years. And I'm guessing he would have an answer for that. So
yes,
why if he's been there for 16 years, either that means Milwaukee must love him, right? I mean, he's been there for 16 years. What can you do that he hasn't done over those 16 years for the future of Milwaukee?
Well, I'll say this. It doesn't mean that people hate him, right? But it doesn't mean that people love him and love his leadership. If no one runs that is qualified or that can rally the people, then it can't happen, right? Number one. And that's been, I would argue, one of the largest issues, number one. What I can do different. I think I start with a passion that there are certain things that we need to do. No one has to spend time talking to me, lobbying me to, you know, make me prioritize getting the lead out. Just as a mother. As a mother, it doesn't have to be my child. I understand what it feels like for a mother whose child has had to go through that, or who can't afford to do what needs to be done to help their child. Something as a city, we need to address it, because as a state, it's costing us money, and as a city, and it's costing us our people. So one, I would prioritize that. The other thing is, even with the police department, we are out of compliance with the ACLU's settlement agreement. We're out of compliance with DOJ's recommendations. We haven't done what our own city attorney should be telling us based on the $30 million that we spent in settlements, without someone having to tell me, but because I had a black boy who was walking down the street, you know, like I'm holding this cup with a turkey to take to a neighbor, and our police stopped him and threw the turkey on the ground after knowing it was a turkey, frisked him, put him in the back of a squad, you know, asked him before they put him in the squad his name and information, his mama's name, and then Lena Taylor? And then asked him for some information that he had already gave him. And so then he was like, you mean mine or my mother's? Oh, your mother's. And then got my number, and then put him in the back of the squad and locked him in. Heard him whimpering. Heard him asking, did I do something wrong? Done nothing except want to take some food for a neighbor. And the part that's so, you know, challenging for me is that day the police department was giving away food. So why not have said, even when you got done with all that I just articulated that I feel was completely inappropriate that was done, and the trauma that was placed on my son, and it's an unwanted rites of passage for most black and brown boys in Milwaukee. As a mayor, that won't be. As a mayor, that has to change. I'm going back to our future. You cannot feed trauma into our children and fear of the police into our children and walking in their community and expect that they're going to grow up and it's going to be a healthy place. You can't do that. As mayor, those are some of the things that I want to address right away that will save us millions of dollars. Not to mention unemployment. How can you run an unemployment agency and have 4 new people in less than 3 years and expect that the ship is going to be going, like a laser? Not happening. That's what's happened with the Employ Milwaukee organization, which is really supposed to help the whole county, and it's been used as a cronyism, corrupt favoritism concept by the mayor, and has not benefited the county as a whole. And you need that to happen because those same communities that are around you that I talked about before, you want them to work with you. And so if you have an opportunity to work with them to build relationships, why would you be using the organization just as a slush fund and not fully a slush fund? Let me not fully say it that way, but I'm concerned about how can you have someone that contracts with that agency? How can you go and get in an interim basis somebody that head their organization to come over and head this organization, but they still have a contract? It just stank. So as mayor, those are some things that, I would change. So what can I do different? First of all, I bring a whole different perspective to the table. And then I'll end with he had 16 years. What is he going to do different in 4 years that he didn't do in 16? And I'm just saying, he had 16. Can I have 4?
That's a good question. I would ask any politician in any office that long, like, what can you do differently at this time? So last question, is Milwaukee ready for a woman, a Black, confident woman, to be mayor of the city? Is Milwaukee ready? Do you think Milwaukee is ready for this?
I definitely think Milwaukee is ready. I definitely think Milwaukee is ready. You're a man of faith. I know you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
everyone knows that about me.
Yes, I know. And so I want to tell you a quick story about when the time for signatures came, because as somebody who's run, you know exactly what this is. So when the time for signatures came around, my mother had been in the hospital. She was rushed, to the emergency room just before Thanksgiving, and then diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And they said the tumor, she was profusely bleeding. They had to get permission to go in. She was in the hospital for nearly 2 weeks. When she came out of the hospital, she was supposed to come to my house, but she wasn't coming to my house. She just gonna do her own thing. I finally realized she's the original. I'm just Memorex. She's Lena Taylor. I'm Lena Taylor, but she the original. And she gonna do what she said she gonna do. And just don't get in her way. Just help her to do it. That's what.
Sounds almost like my mom, for real.
Exactly. So while she was in the hospital, and I was by her bedside while she was in ICU and had to have 3 surgeries and, going through all of this stuff, and, signatures were due. And I, for the first time ever, couldn't go out and circulate signatures for myself. It was the people. It was the people who went out and got signatures for me. More than the needed signatures to get on the ballot, more than the signatures that you could turn in. When I tell you that people went out and got like 4,000 signatures for me, it was amazing. I want to give a praise report, though, and say that the CT scan, they couldn't find the tumor. Really? The MRI, they ain't been able. The blood work show cancer, y'all, and the surgeon saw the thing bleeding and falling apart in her hand. She's like, I'm not crazy. I saw it. I was dealing with it. But God is so good. And the MRI, they could not find the tumor. We're supposed to have another MRI on in February. Before the election. Amen. And so,
we'll be praying for
all we need is faith as big as a mustard seed. Just as big as a mustard seed. Okay. So I'm just letting you know that the people did it. Other candidates, you can read Dan Bice's article with the Journal Sentinel. People were had to pay people to go out, and collect signatures on their behalf. So when I tell you that people are ready, when I tell you people of all walks of life are saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's time, it's overdue, it's exciting. I don't have the money, that my opponents have. I don't have the same corporate obligations that they have either. I'm of the people and for the people. And this whole campaign is that. So I feel more than confident that the people are ready. And I feel so honored by the elders, you know, in my family, in the community, who have just been supportive, and just the people at all ages who have come to, you know, just make it happen. We've put out a lot of lit. We put out a lot of yard signs.
I've never seen you smile this much.
Oh my goodness!
Ever in my life, and I've known you for a long time. He just cheesing over here. I've never seen you smile this much.
I'm just telling you,
you're just excited about this.
I am excited, but I'm more excited about how excited the people have been, because it was a hard time that I was going through, and I was overwhelmed by the fact that I wasn't able to go out and get signatures, and people didn't know. Like, I'm sharing with you now. Like, I don't look like what I was going through, you know, what I've been going through. And so people didn't know. So the reason that I say it with such pride is because it just happened that way without them knowing. And I just feel like, and if people knew, what would it have been, right? So even with that, and I mean, you know, even haters have had to come around, and it's exciting because people see the opportunity to be the change that they want to see, you know. And the model that I want to use is a collaborative model to really help us rebuild neighborhoods, because we're more than downtown. We are our neighborhoods. We are our people. And it's exciting to be able to, you know, maybe be able to be the person who can lead us, you know, from the cliff.
So when's the election, the primary?
February 18th, Black History Month. We'll make herstory.
Oh, look at you.
We'll make herstory. Hey. And in addition to that, I will be the second African American, God willing and the people willing. I will be able to make history in February by being the second African American to win a primary in the city of Milwaukee. First woman, herstory. And then when April 7th comes, I will be able to be the first African American to be elected.
Well, we will be watching, and I
don't want y'all to just be watching. I need Madison to come on down, knock on some doors. I done came to Madison, knocked on doors. I done helped people help people all around the state. I need people to come on down and say, I know that Lena Taylor, and I got something on it. Pass out some yard signs, pass out some literature, put in some work, make some calls. You say, I can't come, call the office 943-0756 or go to GoLenaTaylor.com and tell us you want to make some phone calls. Well, we'll do that. And don't be afraid to send me $1 or $2, if I can say that, because President Obama taught us all that a whole bunch of people doing a little can make huge impacts. And so it would be so much. It would mean so much to me if you would help in any kind of way.
State Senator Lena Taylor, potentially the future mayor of Milwaukee. Thank you for your time coming on Real Talk.
Let's cheers to that.
I've never seen you like this. Just smiling. Look at you. Like, this is just a new Lena. Oh my gosh.
Woo!
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
We'll be praying.
Yes, please.
No Real Talk. Thank you.